Of all the wide receivers in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, perhaps no one imposed their will on defensive backs quite like my guest tonight. Since catching his first pass as a high school senior, Michael Jerome Irvin has used his strength and toughness to become a national champion with the Miami Hurricanes, a 5-time NFL Pro Bowler, and 3-time Super Bowl champion. But before he was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, did you know he had 16 brothers and sisters? Won a slam dunk contest in high school, was the first rookie Cowboy receiver to start in Week 1. Tonight we'll learn what makes this undeniable icon who he is. A man who once said, "I can attack a man's weakness and beat him, or I can attack a man's strengths and break him." Please welcome the playmaker, Michael Irvin.
What's up? Okay, what's up? Yo. Thank you. Thank you, man. Thanks for having me, man.
Your story is absolutely incredible. You were born in 1966 in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, third youngest of 17 kids. What was life like in the Irvin household back then? And did you want to be last to the dinner table?
I used to be so mad at God for giving me all these brothers and sisters. Like, man, you know, we got nothing. I had nothing. Everything got passed down. And the 15th, you know, and we didn't have anything. My dad, you know, was a roofer, and my mom, 17 kids, you know, she was pregnant a lot, you know. So she was home. And I always tell people, you know, growing up like that, and everything gets passed down, and you don't have anything, you just kind of hope and pray, oh, God, please, when it falls back on me, let it be back in style, you know what I mean? So I'm the 15th, you know, and bell-bottom jeans are in style at 1. It's in style, out of style, in style, out of style. Please, when it hits me, be back in style. A lot of times it wasn't in style, and you just had to go to school that way, you know. So it was funny in that way. But I do say this, because of that upbringing, because of working with so many people at the house, a football team at the house helped me work with all the teams that I played on later on and help lead those teams to championships.
Your mom, Pearl, great cook, obviously a tremendous mother. So if you can, and I know she's your angel, but can you describe what you were getting then from mom as the 15th kid?
My mom always made me feel like there was something special about me. Now, she said to me early on, and she said it all of my life, she said, you know, baby, when I got pregnant with you, I was crying. I said, you that happy, baby? She said, oh, no. No, I was saying, God, I can't take another kid. You know, it's what she was saying, and she said, you know, she's primitive Baptist. So she said, I was in church, baby, and God wrapped his arm around my womb and said, Pearl, this will be the one. This is the one. This kid will be blessed among all your kids. She's told me this every day of my life, that you're going to do something special. God has his hands on you. God has you on a short leash, Michael. You're not going to be able to get away with things like everybody else. God has, and I ain't lying, I've gotten in trouble at every turn, anything I try. You know, we're out throwing rocks with all the kids. The glass break, bling, bling, bling. We don't know who broke that glass, but they all knocked on my door. And she said, baby, I told you God has his hand on you. But she told me early on that I was going to do something special. And God told her that I was the kid that will make her latter days greater than her former days.
Your dad's name was Walter. They called him the Rev. He was working hard all week, and then he was preaching on Sundays.
Hard-working man, and I tell you, he did things a little differently, you know. I mean, I would see him work sun up to sundown. He would always tell me, son, being a man is about making decisions and being able to deal with the consequences now. That's what being a man is all about. So he said, as a man, you got to make your own decisions. So I remember I was like 6th grade, And I thought I would make a decision. I didn't want to go to school anymore. And I was like, Dad, I think I'm gonna make a decision. I'm quitting school. He said, no problem. Quit school. And next morning, Joe, about 5:30, he comes, hey, get up. I said, no, remember, I'm not going to school anymore. He said, yes, that's the decision you made. The consequence is you got to go to work with me. You know what I mean? So it's a true story, too. So this joker took me to work with him, man, and I'm telling you, he was a roofer. And I was in charge of making the cement. And I had to put cement in and make it and then shove it and put it in a bucket, take it up under the roof, take it up under the ladder, and hoist it up, up the ladder, or get on top and catch it. Oh, my God. Oh. After one day of this, I went back home. I'm so tired. Oh, my God. I was so tired. He came, knocked on me. Hey, son, let's get up. I said, Dad, I made another decision. like I'm going back to school. He said, oh, okay, I thought so. So that's the kind of father he was. He would let you make a decision and then give you the consequences and make sure you could deal with them. I miss him. I really do miss him.
When I ask you about your dad, he's teaching you these incredible life lessons. He's living hard work. But is he a touchy-feely dad? Is he an I love you, Michael?
It was so funny you asked that because it's one of the things that I've always wanted to hear him say. And I remember the first time I made a play, and they had this, maybe 8th, 9th grade, and they had a little piece of something in the paper where it said Michael Irvin scored the winning touchdown. And, he was like, hey, I saw that in the paper. He said, I'm proud of you. That was everything to me. But he's a big guy, loving guy, get out, he would work all day and then come play marbles with us, but never really heard, I love your son. It was just, he was just a big man. And he had so many kids. I don't know if we had so many of us.
Which one are you?
I'm the 15th, right. So maybe he was saying it early on and ran out. I don't know. But I didn't get a whole lot of it, and it became something that I yearned for and thirst for.
It's funny because a lot of athletes, men and women, from all different backgrounds, have sat in that chair and said, I got into my sport in order to earn the respect or a pat on the back from my father.
Yes.
So you have that in common with a lot who have been there.
Yeah. I wanted that for my dad, but also you got to remember now, being born in '66, and we're coming up 6 years old. I'm in the early '70s. We kind of just gotten into desegregating schools, and I got sent off to a school. They bused us a little ways away, and when I went into school, my kindergartner, oh my God, and the teacher was in school. I'll never forget this, and she would ask all the kids in school, and I was one of the few African Americans in the class. She would ask kids who all know their colors, and everybody raised their hand. I didn't know, I had my hand down right here, and who knew how to spell their name, and all the kids raised their hand. And I thought at the time, I said, man, I must be the dumbest kid in the world. Like, I don't know any of this stuff. I really thought I was the dumbest kid in the world. What really was, later on I found out, was those kids were a little more affluent, and they had gone to preschools and all of that. And about the 3rd grade, I remember in Mirror Lakes, they got me a tutor. And this guy said to me, he said, hey, if you finish your math fast, we'll go outside and throw some footballs around. And that's how it started.
That's all you needed to hear, too, right?
And he started throwing, and I was catching, he was like, oh my God, man, you could be special. And just hearing that made me, this is what I want to do.
Your brother Willie told us that you would run everywhere. Like middle school, high school, wherever you had to go, you would run. And he said maybe that was Michael running away from his life at that moment. Is that too deep or is that real?
Well, and it is. It is real. First of all, I started running because my brother Willie and all of them told me running and everything is just like anything else. The more you do, the better you get at it. And I started out, I was the slowest person in the whole neighborhood. I mean, the slowest person. So when we would play little games or pick people and run races, I would always be last, and they picked me last, and then they would make me race against a girl, and she would even beat me, so everybody beat me, and so I was like, okay, I'm gonna get faster. Every day I come home, I'm gonna run around the block. I'm gonna start running, and that's how it all started. And then as I got a little older, I said, you know, the things my mom used to say to me about, you know, God's not going to let me always be this way, live this way. I used to say to her, I'm going to run you out of this ghetto. I'm going to run us out of here. We're going to get out of here.
So what's the dream
Started
then?
running
If you're saying
day.
I'm going to run us out of here, you're thinking I'm going to have a career in something with...
Right, no doubt, no doubt. I was going to play football or basketball. I wanted to go to league. You know, that's where the money was. For me, for us, it was like, you go play sports or you come back and you sell drugs like everybody else is doing. And that's what I didn't want to do.
You started high school in Piper.
Yes.
And you were a star across the board. I mean, you're a big guy, you're athletic.
Yes.
So your sophomore year, you get suspended for whatever, and your dad says, I think we're done with Piper High School, right? He wants you to transfer out and give you a better opportunity at another school.
Yes. And the one thing I really learned when I got to St. Thomas is I had been running with people that had no plan. We were just going day to day. Whatever we did, we did. If we, you know, hung out all night, if we got up and went to school, we got up and went to school. Or, you know, it was just no plans to it, no anything to it. And so we started looking into St. Thomas and then made the decision to transfer.
I mean, this is a major change in your life, right?
Yes.
I mean, this changed everything in some ways for you.
And you know, in some ways.
It changed everything?
Period. Just period. It changed everything for me. There's no way I would be here right now if it was not for St. Thomas.
About this time, your father gets cancer.
Yes.
And you had to drive him to and from treatments. And you got some time with him alone in the car when he was struggling.
Yeah, the toughest thing that I remember, you know, is one time we went to the doctor. I remember him saying, and this is the strongest man I've ever seen. I remember him saying to the doc, he said, "Doc, I just don't know how much more of this I can take." And the doc said to him, he said, "Doctor said, so Mr. Irvin, is the pain that great?" And he said, it's the physical pain I can bear, but the pain of my family seeing me this way, you know, it's more than I can bear. And I was like, whoa. You know, I mean, I was watching what he was going through. And even at that time, he was thinking about his family. I just thought that was incredible.
And this was your Superman.
This is my Superman.
And he made you promise toward the end to take care of your mom.
Yeah, a couple days before he passed, I was there and he said, he called me and he said, "Hey, I want you to promise me something." He said, "I want you to promise me you'll always take care of your mom." I said, "Dad, Mom's going to be fine. Don't worry." You know, he said, I said, "We're good." He said, "I feel I'm going home on the morning train." And then that morning, it's about 4 a.m., 3 something, we got a call. And they called and they said, you know, Mr. Irvin has expired. I'll never forget that. Those are the words, that's how they used it. Mr. Irvin has expired. And that was hard. That was hard to hearing. All I remember is they found me the next day on the football field at St. Thomas.
And that was just before you started your senior year.
Yeah, my senior year. And I said to Coach, you know, when he found me on the field, I said, you know, I'm not going to be able to play. You know, I'm not going to be able to play. I said, I'm going to have to get a job and help my mom. Because I promised my dad, I appreciate all you guys have done, but I'm not going to be able to do it. And you know, he sat with me and he called my mom over, and my mom said, "Baby, you know, listen." She said, I know you're thinking about what you promised your dad, and I know you wanna be the man that you promised him. She says, but whatever you're going to do now, baby, won't make a difference. Without a high school diploma, it won't make a difference. She said, why don't we just stay in school, let's just keep playing ball, and let's just see what happens, you know, and
your senior year, you get great grades. You've gone through this horrible experience with your dad, and you have this great year. You become Michael Irvin, the wide receiver, and you end up in Miami.
In Miami. And now I was with Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson came in.
Which is unbelievable. I mean, it's just great. Tell me what it was like when you got to Miami.
My first day, I'm just a freshman. I get into it at the training table. First of all, I'd never seen this kind of food before, you know, at the meal table. And we had this big offensive lineman. And this dude just bullied everybody, right? And the freshmen have to eat last. So we're all in line, and I'm just waiting. And they're just standing there talking, just having a conversation. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get that steak right there. I saw the steak. That's gonna be mine right there. I'm waiting on it. So they're talking. I stepped around them. I said, I'll take that steak right there. He said, hey, Rook, freshman, what you doing, freshman? Get your butt in back. I said, oh, no problem. I get it back, no problem. And then he started talking again. So I said, oh, they started talking. And then they finally went, and this joker went and ordered and said, I'll take that steak. The same steak I wanted. Oh man, all the ghetto came out of me. You know, I took the tray, smashed it across his head. He fell. I hit him and started punching him. They picked me up and they took me to Coach Johnson's office. Now, I'm a freshman, just got there. I got to fight the first day. I'm sitting in Coach's office. Coach like, son, are you okay? I said, yeah, Coach, I ain't got time. I ain't come out here for all this, man. I came here, I got to take care of my mom and everything. He said, son, that's a pretty good right hand you got there, you know? So I found out he's a huge boxing fan. He said, you ever thought about boxing? I was like, I said, what are you? I'm thinking he's going to
suspend you or
I'm thinking he's going to get rid of me and suspend me. He ultimately ends up suspending the senior, and he said to me, and I'll never forget it, he said, I know you've gone through a lot. He says, I'm gonna tell you this now, I'll be here. I'm not leaving you. I'll be here as long as you are here. He said, I just want you to focus on what you came here to do and not get caught up in all of this. And that meant the world to me, because I thought he was going to get rid of me, and he didn't get rid of me, but he kind of gave me that I'm going to be your father thing. And I needed that. And Jimmy and I became very, very close.
And was the perfect guy at the perfect time. And you're on a really good team. I mean, the program is cooking down there in Miami,
yeah.
Right? Your third season, you guys end up in the Fiesta Bowl taking on Penn State, and you lost.
I was crushed. We were 3 touchdowns better than that team. But we got out of hand the whole week in Arizona. We were out of hand. We were just doing some crazy things and having too much fun, and we're not focused, and we should have easily won that game. That was probably my most difficult loss in my whole career. Losing that game to Penn State in that championship game.
This is for the national championship.
For national championship.
So the '87 season, the Hurricanes go undefeated.
Yes.
And you have an opportunity to do what you couldn't do the year before, and that is win a national championship. What is that carrot out there like for you?
Oh, I remember Jimmy, he said, whatever it takes. That was the slogan for the '87 season, whatever it takes to finish it, whatever it takes.
You're right down the street in Fort Lauderdale. You got family there.
Yeah.
It looked like this.
Yeah. So let me tell you, it was great. You see me hugging Coach there, and it was something, because that was a special moment for me, because Coach at the time was like my father, and it was a great moment, man, to share with him there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a championship.
Yeah, back then, you had to graduate early to leave early, and I was trying to get to the league to take care of my mom, so that's why I went all to summer school, and I graduated early. And then I applied for the NFL. But I had to talk to Coach first. And at that time, if some team drafted me that I didn't want to go to, since I was officially a junior and graduating, I could really say no to the team. Because if the team drafted me and I didn't want to play for them, I could drop a class, they would lose the draft choice, I would have to pick up a summer class, graduate, and then apply for what they call a supplemental draft. So here I am, the brokest dude in the world, and I'm trying to position myself to negotiate in my first contract with the NFL so I could get to where I wanted to. And so I would talk to Coach. Coach said, now listen, I'll never forget Jimmy saying to me, he said, I know what you're trying to do. He said, I know what you're trying to do. And he said, I don't mind what you're trying to do. He says, but if Dallas draft you, none of that shenanigans. none of that, you know. And he told me then, he said, I got a oil buddy of mine who might be buying the Dallas Cowboys.
He knew prior
Yes.
that it was a
prior
possibility.
To me getting drafted.
Wow, that Jerry could be the owner.
Jerry was looking into buying the Dallas Cowboys.
And if Jerry's the owner,
right.
Jimmy's
and he was
the
coming
next
as
step.
the coach. Right. He was coming as next coach. So Green Bay called, and I was on the phone, Green Bay. Michael, we're thinking about drafting. I was like, Green Bay? Like, you know, I'm from Florida. Green Bay? You know, like, whoa, you know. And my whole house started, no way, Green Bay. No, I'm like,
oh my God.
No, right? I'm looking around, I'm like, we the poorest people in the world. And we talk about no way, Green Bay. And I actually said no to Green Bay. And then Dallas just drafted me. They never even called. You know, they never even called. They just drafted me. But I was happy. My dad was such a huge Cowboy fan. So I was always happy. Oh, man, he's a huge Cowboy fan. He wore a fedora hat, and we watched Tom Landry all the time. And my dad would always say, boy, if you ever play from Dallas Cowboys, boy, it'd be something, boy. I mean, he loved the Dallas Cowboys. And to actually get drafted by Dallas, it was like, wow.
And what comes with a first-round draft selection is money, which means taking care of your mom and making good on that promise that you had made to your dad to take care of her.
Yes, I said, baby, you go pick out any house you want. You know, I'm gonna get you a house. And she went and picked out her house, and I bought her a house, and I sent her a credit card. She never really had a credit card or anything. I sent her a credit card. I said, hey, baby, get this. And Joe, she called me. The first day she went shopping, she called, she said, oh, baby, I don't want to get nobody in trouble. God has blessed us, I don't know. She said, I went to that grocery store, they gave me all this food for free. I said, well, what do you mean, baby? I said, wait a minute, what happened? She said, I put all my food on that counter, they put it all in that bag, and then that man said, let me see that. He showed that little card you gave me, and then he gave it right back to me. And he said, I just let me walk out with all that food. I said, oh, Mom, don't worry, we paid for it. Don't worry, don't worry.
Like she stole it.
She didn't know that the credit card paid
God,
for it.
Bless her
I said,
heart.
baby, we said, trust me, I'll see that in 28 days.
Right,
don't worry about it, I'll see it in 28 days. We paid for it.
I love that you call your mom baby.
Yeah, that's my baby. She's my baby.
Oh.
She is my baby now.
I think people might not be aware that when you were a first-round pick of the Dallas Cowboys, you played for Tom Landry.
Yes, I played for Tom Landry. Now, playing that 1 year up under Coach Landry was tough. You know, they had gone 7-9, and at the time, the Cowboys had never drafted anyone like me. You know, Tom Landry didn't have anyone with earrings in his ear, and I had this big old gold chain with a gold rope, you know, big old gold rope. And the first day on my opening press conference, I said, listen, these hands, I catch so well. I catch these hands, I've been born to catch. When I was born, the doctor tried to spank me, I caught his hand, I said, and I told everybody, I said, I can catch a BB in the dark. Somebody shoot a BB gun and turn out the lights. So, right? And then I go to camp, and I was dropping everything. I couldn't. I was dropping everything, and I lost confidence. I was like, "What's going on here?" You know,
the team was no good.
We
3-13 year.
I was literally crying in the locker after we would lose games, and a lot of the guys would come by and say, "Hey, man, come on, man, you're in the pros now. We don't do that in the pros. Just make sure you pick up that check on Tuesday." And I was.
That did not sit well with you, I guarantee.
I was blown away with this, man. I was like, man, this is the NFL. It was the hardest year in the world for me to get through that year with all the losing. And then Jerry bought the team. And I remember after he fired Tom and we heard Jimmy was coming in, I went home and called Coach Johnson. And you know how, as brothers, we have this thing, say, I don't snitch. Man, I was snitching. Everybody that touched me, talking about pick up a check on Tuesday, I was telling Coach about them.
Right.
I said, hey, man, these dudes, they gotta go.
This guy's gone, this guy's
gotta go. He gotta go. He's not about winning. You know, and it took Coach about the first few months, first year, but boy, he started getting rid of everybody. He started getting rid of everybody, and we got people in, like the people we had at Miami that wanted to win.
Which started with?
Troy
Aikman. And you got your quarterback.
Oh yeah, and I was so happy to get Troy. And I thought, this is it. We only won 3 games the year before. I said, we got what we need now. And that year, we only won one game.
The guy that could get overlooked, obviously Jerry, obviously Jimmy, obviously you, Troy, eventually Emmett. But Norv Turner coming into that organization was the guy that brought that offense and the triplets and all that other stuff together in '91.
Yeah, Norv was perfect for Troy, and he put the offense together, and we just started clicking.
If winning a national championship in college meant what it did to you, and then you get to the NFL and you got guys who are basically just collecting checks with the Dallas Cowboys when you show up, and now you get this young core around you, what would winning a Super Bowl mean to you?
Everything. After '91, I had won receiver of the year. Emmett won running back. You know, at the leading rush, I was the leading receiver. And after that '91 season, we were talking about, Emmett and I talking about, man, we're going to really do it next year. Next year will be our year. Next year, we're going to turn it on. And we've had a year up under the system now. We got it. We're going to turn it on. And we did.
When I talked to Troy about that first Super Bowl 27, he said, I could not calm myself down. What was the preparation like for you? Were you able to relax enough to play your game?
Well, everybody had already been asking us all, are we ready? We're not experienced. You know, we don't have experience. And my whole mantra to that was, what are you talking about? A 20-yard in is a 20-yard in. Whether I do it at practice field, whether I do it in Texas Stadium, or in the Super Bowl. What's the difference? A 20-yard in is 20. It's no big difference, no difference. I played in big games. And I was talking to Emmett. And Emmett and I, before we walk out, we always touch and go double trouble, because he was 22, I was 88, and we always say double trouble today. Today we're going to win, by land or by air. No matter what, we're going to win. And we walked out, and it was like 100,000 people. Whoa, and my knees buckled. I said, oh, snap. I said, oh, I'm telling you, my knees buckled. I looked at Emmett. I said, you felt that? He said, yeah. I said, whew, don't say anything. Because if they know we scared, we ain't got a shot. You know what I mean? I mean, my knees buckled. I was so nervous. And the first few plays, you go out and you go so hard that you get exhausted. You're exhausted. You have to recalibrate, catch your breath again, and try to calm down. And I don't care who you are, the first time you walk in that Super Bowl, that's going to happen to you. Your knees are going to buckle. Because it's what you dreamed about all your life, and you're actually walking in that game.
I love that second touchdown catch, because you're up in the air and you're almost like in a seated position.
So I was the last person to leave the locker room after winning that Super Bowl 27. I stayed in that locker room. All I thought about was the 3-13, the 1-15 season. And to go from that to ending up in that Super Bowl, and we won that Super Bowl. That was an incredible journey, and it was a moment I didn't want to end. I did not want it to end.
What do you think the Rev would have thought of his boy as a Super Bowl champion Dallas Cowboy?
You know, my first touchdown, on the first one you showed, that's what I thought about going across the end zone.
You actually thought of your father?
I thought about my dad. I said, oh my God, I just scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl, man. I just wonder what my dad's thinking about that. So that was just an incredible moment.
Wow. The key is always, now you've won it, how do you stay there? How do you keep the motivation? I know you well enough to know personally that wasn't an issue, but it's a 50-plus man roster. You got to worry about everybody.
Yeah, but Jimmy did a great job at refocusing us, because that second time around, it was tough. It was tough because now everybody, you're the standard. I mean, the worst teams you play gives you the best games because they're trying to measure themselves by you. Jimmy came down hard on us that year. He was hard.
He's made for that type situation, though. And
yes.
You guys go 13-3. You have another Pro Bowl season in 1993. And you're trying to do what very few teams have been able to do, and that is win back-to-back Super Bowls, and there you are again in '93. Different the second time around? Is it knee-buckling excitement when you walk on, or is it a little more normal?
It's a little more normal, because now I know what it is to prepare for it. And that's why when people always say, out of all the Super Bowls, which was the greatest, the first, people are like something wrong with telling the truth. There's nothing like the first time. You know what I mean? It's just nothing like the first time that you did something. The second was great. I remember Jimmy was a stickler about meetings and being on time and everything. And Big Eric Williams had missed the meetings. Gotten drunk the night before and didn't make the meetings, and everybody was quiet because we needed Big E. And Jimmy had come in, and we couldn't find him, and they finally found him, and Jimmy called everybody together, and he came in, and we're looking, coach is going to suspend Eric Williams, and we need Eric Williams, one of the best tackles in the league at the time. And Jimmy said, you know how I am about this stuff, and the rules are the rules. If you don't make the meetings, you can't play in the game. The rules are the rules. And everybody's all quiet, like, oh my God, we're gonna get beat down in this game. And we don't have Eric, man. What are you talking about, man? And Coach said, the rules are the rules. We'll take it up after the season, though. Eric, we need you to play. You know what I'm saying? He said, I'm no fool. He said, the rules are the rules for the next game next year. We're gonna win this Super Bowl though, right now, And he let Big E play.
Here's Super Bowl 28.
The hardware. Aikman on second and long. Irvin wide open. It took forever for the defense to close. Just outside the 47. Fake to Smith. Aikman down the middle, wide open, Michael Irvin. And Irvin has a first down at the Buffalo 28. Number 88, he caught 88 passes during the season. Bills led by a touchdown, 13-6 at halftime. And that was all they would get. 30-13 Dallas. The Dallas dynasty is
real. And when we were in that game, we were losing at halftime. And Jimmy just pounded. He was so mad at us at halftime. I think we ran the ball the first 12 times. He just kept handing it off and until they pretty much submitted. And then we won that game.
You rode that big offensive line, and he said, we're just going to cram it down your throat.
Cram it down their throat. We're going to test you. We're going to test every wheel in this house. We will make them break. And yeah, we crammed it down their throat.
We have this quote of yours on the wall. I can attack a man's weakness and beat him, or I can attack a man's strengths and break him. It's a brilliant quote. Is that from the mind of Michael Irvin?
It is, and it's just my studying of football players, and cornerbacks and how I wanted to go after a cornerback. If I had a guy that was my size, bigger, I figured I can outquick him. But then when I had a bigger guy that was physical and wanted to play more physical, and I said, if I can be more physical than him, he has nowhere to go. That's his strength. If someone attacks your strength, the thing that you said, I go to this all the time to win, and they beat you in your strength, you break that guy. And I like breaking cornerbacks. You know what I mean? It's one thing to beat you. It's another thing to break you,
What was your strength? If you had one thing that you could say, this was my strength as a player, as a person, if I'm trying to break you, what am I going after?
Well, for me, first of all, my whole approach was that I'm going to outwork everybody. If I outwork you in my own mind, there's no way you can beat me if I outwork you. So when I got in the league, I loved Jerry Rice. I thought Jerry Rice was, I called him Jesus in cleats. He's the world, this is Jesus in cleats. And I knew the best guy in the league at the time was Darryl Green. One-on-one, you got to beat Darryl Green. So in my mind, I would get Darryl Green's workout, do it in the morning, then get Jerry's Rice workout, do it in the afternoon, and then do my own workout in the evening so I could prepare myself to get those guys. I just think my work ethic, outworking anybody. I was not great at any one thing, but when it all came together, I felt that I could beat you at anything.
So the obvious story after that is Jimmy leaving, fired, quitting, whatever, doesn't matter, he wasn't there. Because Troy says, Emmett has said, there's no telling how many we could have won had Jimmy stayed there. How do you feel about that?
Exactly the same way. And we talk about it all the time. We could have won 5 or 6 Super Bowls. We really believe that. I think that, and it was so hard. It was hard for me because, remember, Jimmy was my guy. college and then here in the NFL. And how do you send a car to the shop when it's the best driving car on the lot? What did we need to fix here? How did this happen? So we were all stunned. We were all stunned.
Were you mad or disappointed at Jimmy?
I was probably more upset at Jerry for allowing it to happen than Jimmy. Because you understand, I understood the business side of it. And I remember even when the people would come in trying to get interviews, I mean, I was off the chain. I was throwing garbage cans at the people. They would come in trying to get out of this locker room and throwing garbage cans. And I was just so upset that Jimmy was not there. All along, when this thing was brewing, I never thought it would get to this.
You never thought it could happen?
No way you're getting rid of the guy that comes off of winning back-to-back Super Bowls. There's no way that's going to happen. And then it did.
Why do you think he left? Why do you think Jerry pushed?
I don't know. I knew that it was some stuff going on because Jimmy wanted to run such a tight ship. Jerry wanted to make football bigger than life, which is what he's basically done. You know what I mean? He wanted to make big
argue that.
You cannot argue that. And he wanted to bring in princes and everything. Jimmy wanted that locker room door closed, especially if we lost. He was not in any mood to let Jerry bring all these people around. And I think that was what started it. Jerry couldn't play with his team. Jimmy wouldn't allow it. And Jerry, I guess, just got tired of it.
So Jimmy's gone. Barry Switzer comes in. I'm not going to keep referencing all the other guys that have been in that chair, but I will say that Emmitt Smith said, we won because of Jimmy. We won in spite of Barry Switzer. Now, I'll ask you to go one way or the other on that comment.
I like Barry. I like Barry. And Barry believed that grown men didn't need to be monitored. Like, these grown men, you guys know what you have to do, get it done. And it's a great thought, but it's not a reality. Jimmy didn't leave anything to chance. Jimmy would ride everybody to make sure everybody's doing what they need to do. And Barry was a little more lenient in that way. And that really, we were used to being ridden. We were used to being ridden. And so I think that caused some issues.
You didn't win it all in '94, but man, you guys were still good. You guys were still a force to be reckoned with. How good was that '94 team?
Well, we were a good team, and we should have won it all then. We should have won in '94. We get to the NFC Championship game, of course, and
there they are again.
San Francisco,
49ers.
We're playing 49ers, and we go into that game. Troy throws an interception. The guy takes it back for a touchdown. Then we hand the ball off to Emmett. He fumbles. They take it back for a touchdown. And then, okay, well, that's not working. Troy says, all right, he throws me a deep end. I fumble. They get that one, take it in. We're down 21-0 at the start of this game. It's like, wow. And no one can say anything because it's the three stars on the team that just put us down 21-0. So everybody's looking around like, what's going on here, But we fought back all game long. We came up short. But I would say to you this, that game, I think we showed as much heart as we showed in any game that we played, and I think that turned for us. And we all made a commitment when we went in the locker room. We didn't speak a word. Everybody was hurt after losing that game. We didn't speak a word, but there was a commitment made that this would not happen next year. And when we went to work, it was at a different level. And it was no longer any issue with Barry. It was only about winning football games now. We stopped using that and allowing that to be an excuse. It doesn't matter who's on the sideline, doesn't matter who's coaching. It only matters who's on this football field, and we have to make it happen on that football field. And I think that's what changed for the '95 season.
And in Super Bowl 30, the other team that was on the football field, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
For my team, I'll play corner. Aikman on 2nd and 10. Oh, the big target, Michael Irvin. He just shields the defenders away. Another first down at the 50. Touchdown. 27. 17. Dallas, the champions again.
So you got 3.
Yeah, we got the 3. Yeah. That was a good one, too, now. And I was so happy for Barry. You know, I was happy for Barry. And, man, I mean, we were celebrating. We were really celebrating. And usually, right after that, you had to get on a plane and go to the Pro Bowl, all the guys that made the Pro Bowl. So we kind of just stay up all night drinking and everything. And I remember headed back to my room. It was about 5, 6 in the morning. And Barry, Coach Switzer, was there. He was in the hallway, and he was trying to get in his room. And his room was like maybe the door was right here. And he was sitting back. I said, Coach, what's up? He said, doggone it, this key don't work. And I grabbed his hand, I said, well, why don't you try it in here and put it on? Because he was not even at the door. You know what I mean? I had to pull his hand in the door. He said, oh, that helped, huh? I said, yeah, Coach, don't worry about it. I know it's been a tough ride for you. just enjoy it, man. I had never seen, Coach was smashed, man. He was just happy we won that Super Bowl, and I was happy for him.
I guess the question would be, how bad did the culture of misbehaving get?
Jimmy kept a tight rein on all of us, you know, even through the off season. You know, all of those off season workouts, they were voluntary, mandatory. You know, so they're voluntary, but you better be here. You know, that kind of a thing, or you may not be here. So when we lost that, then things did get, you know, they just got a little bit. They got out of hand. They just got out of hand. And imagine that now we're the toast of the town. And everybody partaked in being the toast of the town.
I mean, back in Dallas, you had the White House, which is, you know, kind of like basically a brothel, if nothing else.
Yeah, and basically, that's what it was. And that's what we did, you know. And we did have an extra house. And, you know, and after just thinking I didn't want to go to hotels and all the problems that caused, so we thought, or I thought, that maybe I should get some guys together and we just buy an extra house. You know, and we did. We had an extra house. It was right around the corner. I mean, you go in the backyard and you can see the practice field. So, you know, we practiced right there.
Which means you could be on the practice field and see the White House.
Right, all the time, right. So it worked both ways, right?
Yeah.
So
what happened when Jerry found out about this?
Oh my God. I'll tell you how Jerry found out. The story was breaking about this White House. And I remember Leon Lett called me a couple weeks before, and said, hey, man, I think we've been infiltrated. You need to shut down the White House. And I said to Leon, this is not a movie. This is not a movie. I said, we're not shutting down the White House. This is not the movie, man. Get out of here with that. And then a couple weeks later, live on the news. And so Jerry, I was in meetings, and Jerry called me. He called me out of the meeting in his office. He said, the story's breaking about this extra house you guys have right around the corner here. He said, Michael, you know, all I need is the truth out of you, and I'm gonna fight with you. But you gotta tell me the truth. And I thought long and hard. I was like, wow, man, they done found out about the White House. And I said to him, I said, boss, I was trying to do the wrong thing the right way.
That's genius. That is genius.
That was actually my answer to him, man. He was like, he just kind of shook his head like, you know, like, what do I say if you answer it like that?
Well, what could he say?
Yeah, but he could have said, what were you thinking about, you know? Because all of us was hanging out there, and the girls were there too, so, yeah.
You get arrested in the offseason, suspended that next year for 5 games. What was going on in your life?
Just everything. Everything. Enjoying success, enjoying all that it brings, and it brought a whole lot of things. And I had this thing, you know, that I would always, in the off season, go out from, you know, they'll say get away from football after the season's over. I'm going out and hanging out, chasing, drinking, getting high, hanging out with friends, chasing women and everything. And then March 5th is my birthday, and so I have one big party, hang out, have fun, and then that's it. I'm starting back training. You know, and then I didn't do anything. I was just training football, and I would do this every year. And this year, on that birthday party, so we go to a hotel room. I got some girls, and we have drugs and everything. And we were in there, and the police came in, and They found us in there, found the girls, and they found drugs, and yeah.
When you were on trial in the courtroom, I know one guy who showed up and was there as a teammate on your side, in your corner, and that was?
That was Troy Aikman, the only guy to show up now, and I didn't want him to show up.
Because now he's got to answer questions, and he's going to have microphones in his face.
And everybody be dealing with it, and he was a great guy, you know, and he'll have to deal with it, and it's Troy. I don't want anybody showing up, but there's nothing. Nothing meant more to me than seeing him there. It meant everything to me that he did show up.
He said, "I'll tell you about Michael Irvin. Not only did I, meaning Troy, show up there, but I leave the courthouse. I go back to the facility. I'm in there in my locker, messing around, whatever, might have lifted weights, whatever he was doing. And he said he heard something on the practice field. And he left the locker room, he went out to the practice field, and there you were in the midst of this trial, and you're out there running sprints, you're out there running pass patterns. And he said the most unbelievable thing, he was out there pantomiming his touchdown celebration in the midst of all that. He goes, that is Michael Irvin to a T. Despite all that, he was out there working on his craft.
My craft is my escape. You know what I mean? The game was my escape, you know. And honestly, Joe, that's why I love Jerry, because Jerry, you know, he knows a lot of the people that he get in this league, you know, and where they come from and some of the issues that they may have gone through growing up, that maybe they'll have some issues. And he uses the game to kind of save their lives, because the game saved my life. You know, there's no doubt in my mind, without football, this would have been a whole different life for me. You know what I mean? The game saved my life, and so when I needed to get away from all of that, you know, and dealing with it all, and it was hard dealing with it all, you know, it was just get back to the game. Let me get back home, and it was my sanctuary, just trying to get back on the field. So I wish, and I'm gonna tell you this, I promise you, as God is my witness, I wish I never would have gone to the hotel room that night. And what bugs me is, as I'm standing here today, I promise you, God whispered it to me. Don't go to that hotel room. I promise you I heard it. I heard it as clearly as we are talking here today. He whispered it to me, and I went anyway. I went anyway, and it started something that I just wish never would have happened.
I rarely talk about wives, but I know you are married to an absolute saint.
And there's nothing in this world that's greater than my wife. And I'll tell you, you know, even when all the stuff happened in the hotel and all of it was breaking on the news, I mean, I was driving home thinking, oh my God, I know my wife, what am I gonna say to my wife? And when I walked in, she said, before I could speak, she said, don't say a word to me. She said, don't say a word to me. She said, you need to make your peace with God. And she said, God has already told me I'm your wife and I'm not going anywhere, but you need to make your peace with God. And that devastated me. You know, it devastated me because I'm much rather be in an argument with you, but she removed herself out of it and placed it between me and God, and that was deep. That was deep for me, the way she handled it.
'96 through '98, only one playoff win, but you're still lighting up scoreboards. You're still Michael Irvin. You know, you're still a fantastic player, but the team's not winning.
Yeah, and things had changed too. You know, after that long trial and after I went through something, before I could lead all the guys and speak from an emphatic place, now I was compromised. I felt compromised. You know, and that's what it was, and that's the toughest thing to fix again and correct again when something goes through, when you go through something like that, like what I went through. People underestimate it's hard to get back on straight street and back to a place where you could dominate and be so just so vicious about dominating in your head.
And you felt prior to that invincible.
Yes, yes.
And after that, you were mortal.
Yeah, no, it was different. Everything
Kind of
just
lived
changed.
on the other end of your own quote here, right? You see somebody's strengths, you take it to those strengths, you can break a man. And maybe not to that degree, but that's part of it.
But no, but yeah, I was broken. I was broken in that, and it was different after that. It was different.
Week 4 of '99, you guys are at Philly, and you suffer what looks like from the outside pretty innocuous moment at the vet. And this is how it, in essence, came to an end.
Well, after the hit, you know, I'm paralyzed and temporary paralysis. And I found out after we went to the hospital, and Jerry was with me to go to the hospital, that I have what they call cervical stenosis, which is a narrowing of the spinal column. And then I had all of the junk in my spinal column, and the next hit could be the last hit, you know. And so they suggested, they said I should retire. Now, I went and I tried to find another doctor that would say, you know, you could still play. You could still play, you know, and I wanted to continue trying to play. I remember talking to my wife about it, and she said to me, she said, hey, you know, I know how you are, you know, even if you find somebody that says you can still play, knowing that you have this and knowing people know this, you would, in order to prove to people that you're not afraid or not thinking about it, you would be looking for hits. And she was like, you just can't put us through that. Because, you know, you were like, you know, I made my living running slant routes. Like I'm a slant king. I go across the middle, I take the hits, and I'm not afraid to take the hits. But taking that risk now, and then going past it, saying, I'll show you I'm not afraid, and going into those kinds of hits, ultimately I just decided maybe it's too much to put on them. So I just ultimately decided maybe it's time to retire.
So you go into the Hall of Fame in 2007. Looking back on how you started, and somebody who said, I'm going to run this family out of the ghetto. You not only ran the family out of the ghetto, you ran them to Canton, Ohio, into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Now that moment had to have been overwhelming for you.
When I look at my bust, I see my dad more than I see me. And that Hall of Fame was just incredible because of what all that I've gone through. I didn't know if they would actually give me the nod to get in the Hall. So when they finally let me in, it meant a great deal.
What's next for you?
Me, I'm happy doing what I'm doing. I'm so blessed to still have a locker room. I think what would run me crazy is not having a locker room. So to have an opportunity to work with the guys at the network.
And you guys are so good.
So we have fun.
But you're made for this. I mean, you're made for television.
Fun.
You light up a room. And another thing I'll say about you, and I'm cutting off your own answer, but in your defense or in your corner, I have never seen you say no to somebody come up to you wanting a picture, wanting an autograph. You were one of 17 kids. You are a people person, and it doesn't ever seem like it's a burden to you if somebody comes up and wants a little piece of Michael Irvin.
And I think about that, because I think about, as I said, if I'm a spiritual man, God uses people to help other people. If I'm not available or I can't take people, I'm tired of people, then I'm telling him I'm no use to him. And you know, I made that promise when I was at my lowest, that if you help me get up, that I would be willing to share the story to help others. So if he's going to use people to help people, I got to make myself available to people for him to use me. And I appreciate people.
All right, fun questions. Here we go. It's the way we wrap up. Would you rather have a pause button or a rewind button on your life?
I've had so much great success in some areas, but my peaks have been high and my valleys have been low. I would take a rewind.
Okay.
I would take a rewind and try to correct some of the valleys.
It's a good answer. All right, would you rather be stuck on an island alone or with someone who never stops talking?
I'll take someone who never stops talking. The Bible says it is not good for man to be alone. I'm gonna hold on to that. You know what I mean? Yeah.
If there's anybody who's ever lived that, it's you.
Yes, all right. I do not want to be alone.
All right. Last question of the day. What makes a great wide receiver?
I think the one thing that all great wide receivers need more than anything is body control. You know, people talk about speed, they talk about hands, all of these things. I think it's all comes down to body control. And if you can control the body in certain ways, then you can be a great receiver because you can always put yourself in position to receive the ball and catch the ball.
I've been fortunate enough to sit in this chair for a couple of years now, and we've had a number of seasons. We've had a lot of people sit in that chair. And I want to look you in the eyes, and I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for sitting out here and being an open book, giving people an example of what it's like to go from down here to up here with a lot of here in the middle. You literally ran yourself and your family out of the ghetto. You took care of your mom. You made good on your promise to your father. You continue to inspire people to this day, and you are one hell of a man and an NFL Hall of Famer. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Irvin.